So Brunel's suicide came just days after another Epstein associate, Prince Andrew, settled with a woman who claimed she was forced to have sex with him by Epstein. Virginia Giuffre, the victim, she was abused by Jean-Luc Brunel, accused Prince Andrew of sexually assaulting her 3 times when she was 17 years old. The settlement between Andrew and Giuffre keeps the case out of civil court, but not the court of public opinion. It's just one of several damaging scandals that the royal family is dealing with right now at this moment. And it has several media outlets and public polls calling for the end of the British monarchy. It's interesting how this is all connected. The royal family has been around for 37 generations, more than 1,200 years. Is it possible that it could all really end right now? I'm joined by 2 people who know everything about the royals. Hadley Hall Meares is a royal family expert whose work has appeared in The Hollywood Reporter and Vanity Fair. And Chloe Pantazi is the lifestyle deputy editor for The Insider. I want to thank you both so much for joining me. Hadley, I want to start with Prince Andrew. There are reports that he thinks this settlement with Giuffre will let him rejoin the royal family. Seems like that would almost be impossible at this point. Is there really any place for him in the royal family right now?
I don't think there's any place for him in the royal family now or ever again. I think that a lot of news coming out of the palace and different camps within the royal family really tells us the story that Prince Charles is fed up with Prince Andrew, fed up with his shenanigans, and wants to keep him as far away from possible as he can from this kind of slimmed down modern monarchy that Prince Charles hopes to create when he finally becomes King Charles. You know, and the Queen had to, we believe, probably give at least £2 million to the settlement, which was something in the area of above £12 million. So this has cost the royal family a lot of money, a lot of prestige, and it's just a really sordid embarrassment. So I don't think there is any chance that Prince Andrew comes back.
£2 million. I mean, how does that make the people feel that pay these royal salaries, essentially? I mean, that can't go over well with the people in Britain.
No, it doesn't. And although this money is probably technically from her private funds that she gets from one of the duchies she controls, it's still actually the public's money. So the public is quite rightly very upset about this. But then you also see the Queen's in a pretty hard spot. This is her son. This is her favorite son. And she knew that they had to make this go away and the case not go to trial, especially since we have the Jubilee year here and also a year of transition for the monarchy, where we're really seeing the torch more and more pass to Prince Charles. But yeah, the public is very upset and quite frankly, very disgusted by the whole thing.
The Queen certainly is in a difficult spot. Chloe, Prince Andrew, obviously the biggest scandal right now, making the most headlines. But then there is also Prince Charles and a lot of questions and investigations surrounding his charity and some contributions that they may have received from Saudi Arabia. That also seems to be raising some very suspicious red flags.
Yes, that's right. And Charles himself is actually not really very much affiliated with this charity. It's his charity, but he's not the head of this charity. It's somebody else who's the head of the charity, just to make that distinction really clear. This is an investigation, obviously, and it follows reports that there had been some misplaced donations, that a Saudi had become a British citizen and honoured. So that does raise some questions and is certainly something that the palace does not need right now, especially given the drama surrounding Andrew and also the Queen's COVID-19 test result. We know that she tested positive recently this weekend. So that is also setting off some alarm bells.
I was just going to get to that. I know. I mean, all of this going on, and then could it be any worse of a moment for the Queen at her age to now test positive for COVID? And we know this is a woman that takes her job seriously and doesn't miss engagements. Hadley, from what I understand, she has missed some of her things that she had set up. Do we know how she's doing right now?
The palace is saying that she's just experiencing mild COVID symptoms, but the palace, of course, is going to be very tight-lipped about the Queen's health. She is 95 years old. Any case of COVID, even if you are vaxxed and boosted like she is dangerous for a person that age. So she is canceling some engagements. We don't really know what's going on. And we kind of just have to wait and see, probably just like her doctors and family are waiting to see and holding their breath and hoping she makes it through.
And we certainly hope she's okay, especially with the big celebrations planned coming up soon. But it just seems like all of these bad things are happening at the same moment. Chloe, I was reading about the royal rules today, and there's all of these very intricate rules that they follow. They dictate that the Queen cannot perform her duties because of ill health. If she can't, then there are 4 senior royals that can be appointed, what they call counselors of the state. However, 2 of the 4 options, you've got Prince Andrew. We know, we just talked about it. He's got big problems. And then her grandson, Prince Harry, who we know is nowhere even nearby and is in Los Angeles with Meghan and has totally just basically run away from the whole mess. That really sort of puts the royal family in a bit of a predicament, doesn't it, Chloe?
It does. I mean, one thing to bear in mind with the Queen's COVID-19 diagnosis, just to go back to that, is that although she is 95, which does place her at one of the highest risk categories, she, from what we understand, has also had 3 vaccination doses. So we know she's at least had 1, which offers her some protection. The palace had confirmed that in January 2021. And then it's been widely reported since that she had a 2nd dose after that, as well as a booster shot. A Buckingham Palace spokesperson told Insider this week that they indicated that those reports may be true. So given that, one of Insider's science reporters, Marion Junot, looked into UK data and found that people over 90, their risk of death was actually significantly reduced if they had the 3 doses by around 93%, which is a very high number. So while people are very nervous about the Queen's welfare here and what could happen to the monarchy, it's really worth remembering, you know, she has a great deal of protection afforded to her by these vaccines. She has been advocating for vaccination across the UK. This is something that she and other royal family members have been very vocal about. And so we don't know what's going to happen. And I do think what happens often with the royal family is that so much is placed upon, you know, what happens when the Queen will pass away and when Charles becomes king. And so we're really starting to see, you know, the Queen is an elderly woman. She is 95. She has had some health setbacks. You know, she was hospitalized in October 2021. She's been pictured using a cane, excuse me. And so we know that the inevitable will happen at some point here. But yes, the royal family is in crisis right now. All eyes are on them. So this is not what they need with regards to Andrew and Charles and all the rest of it. However, I don't know if it's, you know, I do see that some people are jumping the gun. And I think, you know, the Queen, maybe just this time is needed for her to rest and recuperate. There's a lot coming up this year with the Platinum Jubilee.
Yeah, we know what a strong woman she is, and I'm sure she'll be able to beat this. And just real quick, we've only got 20 seconds left. Quickly, Hadley, do you think the royal family's really in jeopardy here? Do people really not care about them anymore? Are they really on the way out, or is this just a phase?
You know, I think, honestly, it's probably just a phase. I think the real future of the monarchy is William and Kate. They remain enormously popular. They're very likable. They're very charming. They're very service-oriented. And I really think that once maybe we get over the hump of the reign of Charles, who I think also has a lot of great ideas and is actually a much better person than a lot of people give him credit for, I think the monarchy will survive as it has for centuries.
We will see. They certainly have a history of survival and overcoming these obstacles. Hadley and Chloe, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.